A man working at Deloitte over the past few years decided something had to change. These 50 to 60 hour work weeks, that wasn't going to cut it anymore. He had traveling, he had networking events, and it was taking a toll on his family. He would come back home, and then you know how the argument goes. You're never at home. You can't attend the birthday. You're not present. You're not with me. We're not making the connection. And then his perspective is, I'm doing all of this for us. I'm trying to provide a better lifestyle, a better life for the entire family. And then that argument was getting out of control. That's when he made the decision to try for a federal government job. The door to a government job is the website USAJOBS.gov, but it's not very intuitive. If I just threw you on that website for the first time today, chances are you might get lost, at least for a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours. You're trying to figure it out. Where do I fit in? There's over 2 million government employees. How can I make my skills fit this puzzle? It's a little confusing. He knew one thing though. He needed to make at least $90,000 a year. He was in Chicago. Average salary in Chicago is about $65,000 a year. But he definitely could not take a pay cut. So we talked a little bit about his experience, which was workflows and system development life cycles. When it came down to it, what was at the center, the core of his experience, was analyzing information, collaboration, and communication. And he was in luck because in his city, there were many opportunities. The job series for him was 0343, and as you can see here, there's over 100 jobs within a 30-mile radius of Chicago in this series. But for him, we wanted to focus on open to the public jobs. Now, for a lot of people, they have special hiring paths. We have veterans and we have disability and Native Americans and Peace Corps people. But if you don't have any of that, if you're just a regular person with a U.S. citizenship, you need to focus on open to the public, unless you graduated from school recently. If you graduated with a certificate, graduate level degree, a bachelor's degree within the last 2 years, that opens up something else. That's recent student graduate pathway. But none of that fit him. The resume is the main barrier that stops qualified individuals from getting into the federal government. It's not like private sector resumes. You have to go more in detail. Describe what you did. You didn't just manage a budget for an organization. There was more. What did you manage that budget on? Did you manage it on Microsoft Excel? Was it on QuickBooks? And you managing it on QuickBooks, what did you do? Did you find an issue? Did you identify problems? What did that result in? These are the stories we need to tell. We need to be more descriptive, more details, so that the human resource specialist that's reviewing your resume can give you the appropriate credit for the experience that you do have. Once his resume was strong and directly speaking to the 0343 series, we had the job filters on USAJOBS.gov already set up. He had his notifications coming in. The next step was applying consistently. And if you have not done this, you cannot imagine. Sometimes people struggle. There's a challenge with it. I wanted him to apply at least 1 to 2 times a day. And after months go by, there are times where you're discouraged. You feel like it's not working, that everything's conspiring against you, that this is impossible to attain or achieve. And that's when you need to hear words of encouragement. Keep going. Don't quit. And he continued. He applied a total of 88 times, 43 referrals, 5 interviews, and 2 job offers. From the time that he started applying to his first interview, it took 2 months. The entire thing from the time he was applying to actually getting the job offer, that was 6 months. So it did take some time. He received 2 job offers, one from the Department of Transportation and one for the Department of Treasury, which was the IRS. IRS falls underneath the Department of Treasury. Both GS-12. Starting salary, $97,000 a year at step 1. But I told him, hey, don't just take the step 1, because in actuality, it's not $97,000 a year because you have to factor in taxes, obviously. There's a FERS deduction, 4.4%. It's going to come out of your paycheck. So you have to consider that. Let's try to negotiate. Let's get step 3. And he was like, at first he was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to jeopardize my job offer. A lot of people think like this. They don't want to jeopardize things. They just want to be easy peasy. Just take the first job offer. We negotiated, submitted a memo to the human resource specialist showing that this individual was a superiorly qualified candidate. This added some time to the hiring process because they have to give approval. First, they have to make sure you're even a superiorly qualified candidate by what you're submitting. then they have to get approval, make sure the budget's there, then they go ahead and do it. Now, when it comes to most job positions, they're already allocated a budget of step 10. So if you request like a GS11 position to be working in your office, the budget office automatically calculates it as a step 10. So it's factored into the budget, but it's still, conversation needs to be had on whether or not they're willing to do it. Now, the IRS job that he ended up ultimately going for, this was a public notice position. And there's oftentimes confusion with these type of positions, with these long open-ended positions. A lot of people look at them and they don't apply because they don't understand. You don't have to wait the whole 12 months. They periodically pull people when they need people, and they do interviews and they hire. This is really one of the best bets anybody could do that's looking for a federal government job, because you're giving yourself multiple chances. He was fortunate in that they agreed to give him step 3. So deleted the last offer. They sent him a new offer. It said step 3. Step 3, $103,000 a year. So he was able to start off in the government making thousands of dollars more than what he originally thought. He also was able to successfully negotiate his leave accrual rate and his start date. Now, when he started, he was a little overwhelmed, because anybody would be, not just with a government job, with any job. If you're in a new job, you're in a new organization, you don't speak the same language as that organization. It's going to take time for you to get comfortable and proficient in that role. And the government understands that. The majority of these offices and these federal agencies, they understand that. In fact, I would say it takes at least 2 years for you to get truly comfortable and to develop competency within the role that you're filling. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen from one week to the next. So that's why it's important. Keep the open channel of communication. You and your supervisor. Am I doing all right, boss? Is my performance acceptable? And more often than not, they're understanding. Much more importantly, he noticed after a few weeks that there was an improvement to his work-life balance. He didn't work a minute over 40 hours in that week. He could be home. He also didn't have to worry about missing birthdays, anniversaries, special occasions. He had that flexibility that when something was important that came up in his life, he was able to give it his time and attention, because his workplace wasn't draining him of all of his energy, of all of his time. Now, to be fair, overall, I think his bonus potential, his potential to make 5-figure bonuses, that went down. Now, the federal government, they still offer bonuses. Most agencies, they'll give you probably $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year for top performers as a performance bonus. Not every agency, but the larger agencies, VA, DOD, DHS, they should, if the budget's there. The smaller agencies that are less than 500 people, those places, I've seen those where they're not rewarding anybody because they don't have the money to do it. But the most important thing for him was that work-life balance, and that's exactly where he's at now. Now, for you, maybe you're in the season where you're a hard charger. You need to go ahead and bang out 60, 70-hour work weeks in order to feel satisfied with where you're at in life. Maybe you're chasing the money. You're trying to work 2 or 3 different jobs and you're just trying to stockpile cash for whatever reason. If that's the season that you're in, then more power to you. Go out there and get after it. But if you're not, if you're in the season of downshifting a little bit and capitalizing on that work-life balance and start opening up pockets of time that you didn't even have before, then maybe look at the public sector. It doesn't have to be federal government. Could be state, could be county, could even be your town. Look at those opportunities, because a lot of those, the compensation is somewhat similar, but the time element, which is the priceless element, that is so much better in the public sector. If you are looking for a federal government job, the pay incentives have changed. The policies that govern retention bonuses, recruitment bonuses, and things of that nature, that's changed a little bit, but it changed in a good way. You can end up getting even more money. If you're interested in learning more about that, then I want you to watch this video next. If you would like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.